December 8, 1941, Imperial Naval Headquarters in Tokyo. Admiral Osamu Nagano examined the updates from Pearl Harbor with evident pleasure. 8 U.S. battleships rendered inoperable or destroyed, almost 200 planes wiped out, along with 2,400 American lives lost. The U.S. Pacific Fleet stood severely weakened. Unbeknownst to Nagano, or any figure in the Imperial Japanese Navy, outdated vessels deteriorating in U.S. reserve groups were on the verge of reshaping naval history through one of the most remarkable buildups ever seen. In just 2 years, American dockyards would hit output levels that Japanese strategists considered utterly unfeasible, churning out vessels quicker than the Imperial Navy could monitor them, much less eliminate them. The revival of the mothball fleets. The James River Reserve Fleet, located near Fort Eustis, Virginia, served as one of multiple U.S. naval boneyards, housing ships from World War I in diverse conditions of upkeep. The precise count stays unclear, though estimates suggest more than 100 ships which received only basic care during the 1930s as federal funding shrank. They lingered in administrative uncertainty, valuable enough to avoid dismantling, costly enough to neglect fully, and apparently outdated enough to ignore. That morning of December 8th reshaped this watery graveyard. Teams from Norfolk Naval Shipyard and private firms swarmed the moorings. The mobilization directives were straightforward, yet appeared unattainable. Get as many ships seaworthy right away as feasible. Early assessments uncovered formidable obstacles. Boiler rooms swamped with water, equipment rusted irreparably, nests of birds cluttering air ducts. Certain decks even sprouted plants. Nevertheless, in a matter of weeks, vessels started steaming on their own steam. The USS Bridgeport, once a German passenger ship captured in 1917, ranked among the initial ones brought back online, belching dark fumes from chimneys idle for over 10 years. Come spring 1942, scores of these ships had emerged from storage, undergone upgrades, and entered active duty. They lacked the allure of frontline combatants, but proved vital as support units, repair ships, oilers, freighters, and troop carriers. This swift recommissioning delivered urgent bolstering at a time when the U.S. required every buoyant frame available. The oversight in Japanese intelligence, the Imperial Japanese Navy's spy network, whose scale remains debated but was undoubtedly stretched thin, sought to gauge U.S. strengths. Pre-war evaluations projected that the U.S. could manufacture around 500,000 tons of warships yearly, plus up to 2 million tons of commercial tonnage at peak effort. The approach seemed sound. Japanese experts tallied U.S. building had generated more than 19 million tons of vessels, almost tenfold the Japanese estimate. This went beyond mere intel lapses. It reflected a profound misunderstanding of how American culture could rally for total war. The push by the Maritime Commission. Overnight, the U.S. Maritime Commission evolved from a New Deal body overseeing merchant fleet erosion into the driver of an extraordinary construction surge. Admiral Emory S. Land, leading the group, grasped both technical details and red tape. His stance boiled down to one core idea: construct vessels outpacing their destruction. Bolstered wartime powers enabled the Commission to seize yards, distribute resources, steer personnel, and synchronize the full manufacturing chain. This behind-the-scenes orchestration, overlooked by Japanese spies fixated on vessel tallies, ended up mattering as much as the output itself. Drawing from a straightforward British blueprint for basic haulers, the Liberty Ship Initiative set the standard for assembly line efficiency. The blueprint favored proven methods, piston power over cutting-edge turbines, basic shapes over intricate forms, to speed assembly by novice crews. The inaugural Liberty ship, SS Patrick Henry, was launched on September 27, 1941, and took 244 days to finish. By the start of 1942, build times had dropped under 100 days. Toward the end of 1942, certain shipyards were finishing vessels in fewer than 50 days. Progress in efficiency happened rapidly and without pause. The agency also focused on workforce development. Innovative training initiatives turned ordinary farmers into competent sailors in mere weeks. The Merchant Marine Academy shortened its curriculum from 4 years to just 18 months. At the conclusion of the war, more than 250,000 fresh merchant seamen had been prepared, establishing from scratch a merchant fleet surpassing Japan's total seafaring personnel. The Kaiser Innovation. Lacking any background in naval construction, Henry J. Kaiser brought fresh concepts from his dam-building expertise into shipbuilding. His method boiled down to dividing intricate endeavors into basic steps, promoting concurrent operations, and prioritizing employee investment. In his Richmond, California facilities, 4 distinct sites that ultimately featured 55 shipways altogether, Kaiser introduced modular assembly techniques for ships. Conventional yards assembled ships progressively from the keel upward. In contrast, Kaiser fabricated ship parts concurrently. 4 sections were assembled as aft sections took shape in parallel. Superstructures were fully outfitted at remote locations before being hoisted into position. The shift in labor practices was just as groundbreaking. Facing a shortage of expert shipwrights, Kaiser refused to compromise quality. He restructured the jobs instead. Rather than educating full-fledged shipbuilders, he specialized the roles. A welder could perfect a single weld type and execute it flawlessly repeatedly. To avoid delays, Kaiser developed essential support systems. When lodging fell short, he constructed whole communities. For medical needs, he founded the precursor to Kaiser Permanente. Lacking daycare, he established round-the-clock child facilities. Production barriers were pinpointed and removed one by one. Come mid-1942, Kaiser's operations were delivering Liberty ships at astonishing speeds. Although reports of exact record times warrant skepticism, the consistent output rate was irrefutable. The Richmond yards by themselves turned out over 700 ships over the course of the conflict. The irony of Pearl Harbor. Though the assault on Pearl Harbor achieved short-term victories, it harbored key strategic errors. Admiral females joined jobs at record levels. This shift showed in the output figures. Vessel handovers sped up every month in 1942. Every uptick signaled not only new yards activating, but also ongoing sites optimizing, staff gaining expertise, and processes sharpening. The manufacturing boom. Midway through 1942, U.S. shipyards accomplished feats Japanese strategists considered unattainable. Deliveries of Liberty ships climbed month by month, 5 in January, 14 in March, 33 in June, 67 in September. The high point arrived in October 1943 with 106 Liberty ships finished, over 3 daily. Japanese spies grappled with these figures. As impartial reports noted scores of fresh U.S. ships docking in Atlantic harbors, Tokyo's experts proposed alternative theories. The U.S. was inflating counts by reusing the same hulls, tallying inland lakecraft, or just fabricating data. Such notions felt more believable than confronting the truth. Producing each Liberty ship demanded massive synchronization. Millions of pounds of steel needed timed arrivals. Motors from diverse makers had to sync perfectly. Parts from countless vendors required seamless delivery. The logistical mastery behind it all rivaled the vessel's engineering. At the same time, revived mothballed ships offered vital aid. Service vessels patched up injured ships on site, skipping long trips to yards. Oil carriers boosted reach. Munition transports, risky with their loads, ensured the ammo flow essential to U.S. combat tactics, submarine viewpoints. Japanese sub-commanders offered the clearest first-hand accounts of the U.S. naval buildup. Their patrol logs, frequently brushed off by higher-ups as overstatements, captured the dramatic shift in American sea strength. Takazu Kinashi, skipper of the I-19, notched a stunning victory in September 1942 by torpedoing the carrier USS Wasp. Yet, prefab methods had reached impressive levels of refinement, key hull parts assembled in isolated zones. Forward sections, tipping the scales at more than 200 tons, came together as complete modules. Aft portions included pre-fitted propeller shafts. Superstructures showed up ready with pipes and wiring intact. Workers then fitted these components on the slipways, akin to solving enormous 3D enigmas. The labor force featured record levels of female hires, hitting 25 to 30% in certain plants, alongside underrepresented groups. Though bias lingered and roles stayed constrained, wartime demands unlocked factory positions long barred to them. Most employees boasted under a year on the job, but output topped peacetime benchmarks. Backup systems proved just as remarkable. Extensive rail lines shuttled supplies. Towering cranes, including custom ones for loads old-school builders deemed unmovable, positioned the pieces precisely. Workshops, forges, and build zones synced in efficient rhythms. Awareness among Japanese brass. Leaders grasped the looming loss at varying points, yet the process mirrored common stages. Following early triumphs, creeping uncertainty set in, culminating in stark realization of numerical futility. The Marianas setback in June 1944 signaled a pivot. Dubbed the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot by U.S. aviators, the Philippine Sea Clash exposed vast American dominance. Task Force 58 mustered more flat-tops, capital ships, and guards than the whole pre-war Imperial fleet. Japanese carrier-based air power got gutted, with over 400 planes lost against under 30 enemy kills. Soemu Toyota, overseeing the unified armada, eventually admitted that post-Marianas, he recognized the conflict's end. The foe had assembled a fleet beyond Japan's reach, backed by cargo armadas too tough to drown and propped by factories without peer. B-29 raids over the home islands starting late 1944, launching from Marianas Fields, brought U.S. edge into plain sight for ordinary folk. Though Japanese interceptors strained to match the bombers' heights, they seldom thwarted the incursions effectively. Every B-29 embodied Yankee manufacturing prowess, intricate, costly, churned out in droves, advancements in Victory vessels. While Liberty hulls flooded from berths, the Maritime Commission rolled out upgrades. Victory designs fixed Liberty flaws without losing high-volume benefits. They boasted greater velocity, sturdiness, and economy, chief among changes, quicker pace. Liberty's top 11 knots left them easy marks for subs. Victories hit 15 to 17 knots, sufficient to escape surfaced hunters and shorten trips markedly. Refined lines banished flaws that cracked earlier Liberties. The shift to new builds highlighted U.S. flexibility. Yards flipped to Victory lines seamlessly, with crews mastering fresh methods sans output dips. Midway through 1944, Victories finished at rates rivaling the basic Liberties of prior years. More than 500 would launch, plenty enduring long past 1945. Their longevity confirmed the value of bulk building. Volume didn't erode standards under smart oversight, societal shifts. Shipyard crews mirrored profound cultural upheavals. Females tackled roles once deemed beyond them. Arc welding, bolting, operating hoists. African Americans aft. They found openings, albeit constrained by ongoing prejudice, in specialized roles that had long been off-limits. Kaiser's advancements reached far beyond the shipyards themselves. His medical framework, designed to maintain worker vitality and output, introduced groundbreaking prepaid health services. Round-the-clock nurseries supported families tirelessly. Rapidly constructed residential developments formed vibrant neighborhoods on the spot. Vanport City, located close to Portland, accommodated more than 40,000 inhabitants during its height, transforming into Oregon's second biggest urban center almost instantly. These support networks represented strategic commitments to efficiency, not mere benevolence. Fit employees delivered superior performance. Parents with access to childcare could handle flexible schedules. Those living proximate to the yards minimized travel time. Any obstacle to output was pinpointed and resolved. The resulting efficiency was extraordinary. Labor hours needed per vessel dropped steadily as crews became more adept and processes were refined. Come late 1944, constructing a Liberty ship demanded roughly one-third the effort compared to early 1942 efforts. This went beyond mere optimization. It revolutionized labor practices entirely, the equation of downfall. By 1945, the calculus underpinning U.S. triumph stood clear. The Philippines operations showcased America's capacity to deploy dominant power across the Pacific theater. Assault armadas, comprising hundreds of ships, were backed by supply lines spanning the ocean. At Iwo Jima, the focused U.S. barrage surpassed any prior in armed conflict annals. The initial shelling alone consumed more munitions than entire countries stockpiled. During Okinawa, the gathered armada topped 1,400 ships, probably the greatest naval gathering in history. Japan's kamikaze efforts, a frantic bid to impose crippling casualties via self-sacrifice, notched battlefield wins but held no broader consequence. Scores of vessels went down, hundreds more were impaired. In earlier conflicts, such tolls could have stalled campaigns. Set against U.S. manufacturing might, they were simply offset and replenished with no lasting effect. By mid-1945, U.S. sea power functioned with an effortless profusion that would have appeared unbelievable in 1941. Impaired craft were fixed and redeployed, sunk ones were rebuilt, the numbers had turned utterly overwhelming. Manufacturing triumph. The nuclear strikes that concluded the conflict masked a core reality. Conventional production warfare had already vanquished Japan. The bombs hastened capitulation, yet weren't the root of downfall. That outcome was forged in U.S. dockyards. From December 1941 through August 1945, American yards churned out over 5,000 cargo ships, exceeding 50 million deadweight tons in total. Japan's output paled in comparison. The U.S. launched more vessels in individual months than Japan managed across full years. The gap transcended raw figures. U.S. builds featured ongoing enhancements. Standards of craftsmanship rose even amid surging volumes. Creativity persisted amid large-scale fabrication. This blend, volume, excellence, and perpetual refinement, proved impossible to counter. Admiral Land's Maritime Authority had engineered success via supply chains. Vessels were constructed quicker than foes could destroy them. Sailors were prepared faster than adversaries could eliminate them. This marked triumph through sheer production logic. The realization. After-war debriefs uncovered how Imperial Japanese commanders slowly grasped the war's unavoidable conclusion. Initial successes appeared to affirm their approach, yet every later clash revealed U.S. forces waxing stronger as Japan waned. A high-ranking commander outlined a grim progression. Post-Midway, initiative slipped away. Following Guadalcanal, drive evaporated. After the Marianas, the conflict was forfeited. With the Philippines secured, termination loomed. At Okinawa's close, it was merely anticipated. Civilian awareness trailed behind, yet arrived inescapably. Official narratives clung to triumph assertions amid incinerated metropolises, but B-29 incursions, sea barrages, and undersea strangulation rendered truth inescapable. By early 1945, the majority of Japanese civilians grasped the futility, though voicing it remained perilous. Denying the numerical facts prolonged suffering for hundreds of thousands pointlessly. Persisting amid hopeless disparity wasn't tactics, but evasion. The atomic detonations offered a dignified rationale to conclude what U.S. shipbuilding had long settled: insights and enduring impact. Reviving the mothball fleet and the ensuing construction boom illustrated potentials beyond conventional strategic reckonings. Free societies, once aligned, could muster efforts that despotic regimes could scarcely conceive. The methods pioneered, prefabrication, sectional building, labor division, shaped worldwide industry for generations. Societal shifts, including women's industrial roles, minorities accessing expertise, and corporate health provisions, altered U.S. culture indelibly. Japanese espionage shortcomings stemmed less from intel collection than from yet. The core issue lay not merely in gathering intelligence, but in interpreting it. Deep-seated cultural biases and entrenched military strategies formed barriers that blocked clear evaluation. Officials might tally vessels, yet they failed to grasp the underlying mechanism generating them. They observed industrial plants, but overlooked their potential for radical overhaul. They grasped battlefield maneuvers, yet missed the essentials of supply chains. The disparity stood out sharply. Japan deployed refined combat techniques, seasoned personnel, and unyielding resolve. In response, the United States leveraged vast manufacturing prowess, streamlined administration, and an unassailable numerical edge. Within the realm of contemporary mechanized conflict, output eclipsed bravery, supply networks outranked maneuvers, and sheer calculation trumped fervor. To sum up, the activation of democracy's reserves. The narrative of reviving America's mothball navy and the manufacturing surge it symbolized illustrates precisely how the Allies secured victory in World War II. Victory stemmed not solely from epic sea clashes, but from bustling dockyards, iron foundries, and preparation hubs scattered throughout the nation. Those weathered vessels recommissioned in 1941 formed a key element in a sweeping shift that redefined international influence. Japan's error transcended mere espionage shortcomings. It reflected a profound misjudgment of the United States' societal aptitude for rapid escalation. They fixated on civilian-era wastefulness, blind to the explosive capabilities unleashed in crisis. They tallied existing hulls without comprehending the apparatus set to forge more. While they geared up for clashes of fleets, America readied itself for a contest of output. Figures like Henry Kaiser and his peers didn't merely construct vessels. They upended production paradigms. Their innovations would ripple across worldwide sectors. The societal shifts they sparked would redefine life in the United States. The coordination skills they showcased would underpin contemporary supply management. On a personal level, the era blended glory with sorrow. U.S. laborers pulled off feats of fabrication. Japanese troops battled valiantly against insurmountable odds. Non-combatants on both fronts bore the conflict's toll, yet the result hinged on output muscle, not martial heroism. These insights endure. Manufacturing strength remains the bedrock of armed might. Fabrication resources continue to shape tactical choices. Open societies harbor mobilization strengths that catch observers off guard, fixated as they are on routine sluggishness. The dormant ships recommissioned in 1941 transported more than goods over Pacific waves. They embodied evidence that a productive republic could pivot from tranquil inertia to dominant force with a velocity and magnitude that demolished preconceptions about the boundaries of industrialized struggles. In dockyards nationwide, laborers crafted more than hulls. They forged a fresh global framework, vessel by vessel. The numerical truth boiled down easily. The U.S. could fabricate ships quicker than Japan could dispatch them, prepare sailors swifter than Japan could eliminate them, and generate resources faster than Japan could obliterate them. This transcended mere success. It marked a redefinition of combat. The epoch of conclusive engagements had closed. The time of mechanized struggle had dawned. Japan absorbed this truth via crushing loss. The realm that appeared unbreakable in December 1941 lay in ashes by August 1945. Overcome not by sharper strategies but by unmatched fabrication, not by bolder spirit, but by broader resources. The mothball armadas emerging from U.S. harbors unleashed a manufacturing deluge that recast the Pacific campaign from tactical rivalry to foregone conclusion. The ultimate irony lies in Japan's rebound after the conflict, which harnessed the exact approaches that had toppled its dominion. Japanese dockyards would integrate U.S. fabrication methods. Japanese enterprises would adopt bulk output. The conflict's teachings would elevate Japan from martial force to commercial giant, demonstrating how the productive tools that claimed battles could also claim tranquility. Ultimately, the tale of America's Phantom Armada transcends vessels. It's about the evolution of strife. When manufacturing might aligns with collective determination, when free nations gear up for all-out conflict, when fabrication turns into doctrine, conventional martial reckonings fade into irrelevance. The idle ships brought back online in 1941 aided more than a single campaign's triumph. They validated that in today's world, the workshop held sway equal to the front. The production sequence rivaled the combat array, and raw industrial computation served as the final judge of success.